They are outstanding people. I mean, you should be very proud of the selection process and of the people that are implementing all this. The architects, the inspectors, there's so much to building and refurbishing. And they seem to be always on time. The progress reports are very responsible. Their summaries are very precise. And I find myself sitting there really marveling at what a great job that they're doing. And they ask you any question you ask of any of the projects, they're right there with all the answers. So for me, I want you all to know that it's moving along very smoothly. It is moving along very professionally, and something that you as elected board members should be very proud of. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
With all that being said, let's go ahead and start our report. In this report, I will give a brief review of the Bond Oversight Committee's mission and purpose, structure and membership, duties and responsibilities, and last but not least, I will close with the committee's reports of 2016 observations, findings, recommendations, and highlights throughout the 2016 year. First one will be mission and purpose. The committee is an independent citizens committee responsible to the superintendent, the board, and the general public. The purpose of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee is twofold. Number one, the Bond Oversight Committee helps ensure that the original intent of the Bond Advisory Committee that developed the YISD bond is continuously reflected. Number two, the Bond Oversight Committee helps ensure that the bond projects reflect the Bond Advisory Committee's recommended bond proposal, as was adopted by the Board of Trustees and approved by voters in the fall of 2015. More specifically, the committee is charged with 5 things. Number one, monitoring the progress of capital projects and schedules. Number 2, reviewing bond funds expended by the Board of Trustees or district. Number 3, providing advice and recommendations upon request to the Board of Trustees or district administration regarding bond implementation decisions. Number 4, reporting to the Board of Trustees the committee's observations, findings, and concerns. And lastly, making recommendations to the Board of Trustees regarding the use of any remaining unexpended bond funds after all projects are completed. While the review of the bond purchases before Board of Trustees approval to expend funds is not a charge of the committee, we do function as an administrative committee, having been established as an ad hoc advisory body. To date, we have met 3 times. Today will be the 4th gathering for the 2016 year. Structure and membership. The committee comprises of 30 voting members and a chairperson who is appointed by the committee. Formal action from the committee requires a majority vote of the quorum present, 20 members in attendance. Membership on the committee consists of interested persons with experience or knowledge in the areas of building, construction, engineering, design, construction project management, and finance. Individuals active in a business organization representing the business community located in the district. Persons who are parents or guardians of a child enrolled in the district, and also active in parent-teacher organizations, and individuals who represent the community at large. Committee member Manny Moreno has stated that he takes pride in that the Bond Oversight Committee represents a diverse group. Our committee maintains objectivity and is of independent thought with the district's best interests at best. Duties and responsibilities. The committee reviews periodic reports produced by the district to verify effective and efficient use of bond proceeds and compliance with the purposes outlined by the bond program as approved by the Board of Trustees. The committee reviews efforts by the district to maximize bond revenues to balance best value, quality, and efficiency in meeting the district's goals and priorities. Last but not least, I will close with the committee's observations, findings, and recommendations throughout the year of 2016. In August, Mr. Jorge Acosta noted that there was a lack of inconsistency in the provisions made for a Spanish interpreter in the community forums, meetings, and gatherings discussing bond projects. In another observation, a committee member noted the security measures should be looked at more stringently. Members stated that visiting schools, in some cases following someone else in and being let in freely when they told the office they were there to see their child, no one questioning access to the building. Another member, Ms. Lisa Montelongo, stated that suggestions of providing more information to the Bond Oversight Committee members would be good, such as original budget, timeline, actual budget, change order information, and amounts, progress bar. In addition, Ms. Montelongo suggests the committee consider moving to a monthly meeting versus a quarterly meeting schedule currently in use. In October, Mr. Wayne Thornton stated that it has been an honor and a privilege to be part of the YISD Bond Oversight Committee. Along with that honor also comes professionalism and respect towards other committee members, along with those of YISD staff and bond staff. He has been an active participant in the charrette process, community meetings, and other bond forums, as have other committee members. At this time, I would like to recognize some of the committee members that are here and thank them for the commitment this year. If they would stand when I call their name. Mr. Luis Villalobos, Mr. Manny Moreno, Mr. David Porras, Mr. Patrick Brown, Ms. Frances Rodriguez, Mr. Hugo Noriega, Ms. Minnie Acosta, Mr. Jorge Acosta, Ms. Yvonne Flores Franco Herrera, and I think Mr. Jim Paul has exited. Mr. Wayne Thornton, oh, sorry, Wayne. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Cox.
Oh, and Mr. Jim Cox.
And Ms. Montelongo?
Ms. Montelongo's right there. I mentioned her. Montelongo. In conclusion, I would like to thank President Haggerty, Board of Trustees, and Dr. De La Torre for the opportunity to serve. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve, and we are proud of the work YISD School District is doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sir, we have a couple questions.
I just had a couple of comments. Mr. Hernandez and the committee, I would like to say thank you all for the time that you're investing into what we committed to the community to be good stewards and you being the voice and letting folks know what the truth is at all times. And so I greatly appreciate that on you giving up the time. And since I know many of you, I know how incredibly busy you are. And so I appreciate the extra long days that you're putting in to make a difference. I do have a question for Mr. Arango on the request for more metrics. Is there a way, are you going to be able to do that for them, or is that a reasonable request?
Absolutely. We take all of the requests very seriously. We document them, and then we go back to the team and we address it accordingly. There are a few that are on the table that we are really working diligently to make sure we interpret properly so that the entire committee can make use of those documents and numbers and such. And more than that, we want to be consistent in those reporting. So whatever we come up with, there'll be consistency in the future. Our next meeting that we have scheduled is in February, and at that time, we will very purposely and intentionally request specifically what are more reports that they would like to see so that we can begin our year with that kind of consistency.
One of the, I'm trying to remember the name of the federal government initiative that they used during the Depression earlier this decade. What's that? No, this decade, not last century. Just because I grew the beard does not mean I'm that old. So.
Stimulus?
Yeah, the stimulus package.
All right.
The stimulus package, they had a great online presence that allowed for a whole lot of tracking. I'm just drawing a blank on it. Do you remember it, Ms. Leeper? That's what it was. It's ERA. Yeah, thank you.
The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Finally.
Tennessee Valley.
The ERA, Tennessee Valley. Thank you, Dr. Latour. The ERA had a great website that allowed for a lot of that monitoring to occur. And as you, I don't know if you recall, but
No, sir, but I'm happy to look at that, and I will be very, very proud to remind everyone that the new website that we have BLK has been very hard at work, and so if you've seen it in the last couple of months, you've seen it night and day. And so if we continue to really use that website as a place to gather information, not only for our BOC members, but really for the community at large, I think that you will continue to see those additions to that website, and we will certainly go back and look at the era.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment to, of course, the chairman and the rest of the committee. It's really, to me, it's something that I cannot tell you and express how appreciative I am of the quality of work, coupled with the fact that Jim Paul just made those comments on. And incidentally, if I made fun of Jim Paul, I've known him since we were in grade school, so to speak. And when he gets a hold of a microphone, he never lets go. But I'm sorry he left. He had to leave. I wish he hadn't. But I appreciate the professionalism that's already been mentioned of this committee and the patience. But most of all, what you have done and what you're doing is something that formulates a foundation for this community to have full confidence in this board, the superintendent, by the mere fact that you have looked at everything, you've analyzed it, and maybe we haven't agreed, but we've learned to agree to the point where I feel very comfortable that we can move forward and get this district to the level it should be. And I appreciate all the efforts all the time, all of you committee members. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
I just also want to add my thanks to, I know that people are busy, people have their own lives, and honestly, the way that this committee is helping us out by being our eyes and our ears in the community, it's a great blessing to us. Thank you very much for that. I had one question. I'm understanding that there's some of the meetings that are kind of low in attendance and that you haven't been able to have a quorum yet. Are there things that you're needing to vote on that maybe need to be addressed as far as changing the number for the quorum or something like that?
Yes, that is a great question. That is one of our very important agenda items for the first of the year. We want to make sure that we address those attendance items. We do have a very strong group of consistent people, and as you all have mentioned, everyone's extremely busy, and so we've had a couple members that we will very purposely reach out to make sure that all is well, and if they're interested in continuing with us, that's wonderful, and if they feel like they just cannot, then we will reach out to the superintendent and deliberate with the committee and make sure that we get those seats filled as soon as possible. It's very important that the members that we have that have been consistent, that they feel that they have a supporting group surrounding them and that they feel together strongly. More than that, that as the year kind of continues, that more projects unfold, that they also feel that their voices are heard, that we're reporting back what they're saying. And so all of those things are very important to the environment that they're in. A lot of the committee members, you know, if we could, we'd have them up here, each and every one of them. Both the highlights and the recommendations are all important, and we've documented as best we can. So coming on to the second year, there's been a lot of lessons learned. There's been a lot of growth. And more than that, I think that attendance is probably at the forefront of that to make sure that we have a consistent quorum. And so when you ask about the action items, well, just from the very basic minutes and attendance and projects or even the approaches that they're requesting as a group, we become stronger through a workshop environment. And so, yes, that's very important to us. So we will be seeking that immediately in the beginning of the year. That's a great question.
I do have one comment along those lines. In my discussions with the board members, the committee members, I made a commitment to them that moving forward for this coming year, lessons learned, like Mr. Arango stated, our agenda and our preparation for the agenda will be much more in detail so that I can represent them as best as possible. There are some things that they are all asking for, and we'll be reaching out again to them to make sure that any of their questions are brought up and presented as an agenda item so that we can make sure that everybody on that committee is getting the same type of information. So,
Ms. Duenas, you had a question?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank the committee for their attendance, and I know it's out of their way to come to meet, and but I have heard a lot of concerns that I hope we can come to an agreement and maybe make it better for some of these committee members that are asking for information. One of my questions is that I think they should have a monthly meeting. Quarterly is too long. Projects go by faster than they're even aware of. They need to at least be monthly. Some of the members don't know what's going on until after the fact when they come to the meeting. Another thing is they're complaining of, because I have sat on those committees, and there's not enough information given to them before the meeting. So they have no questions or anything to ask. The other one is they're behind on projects. Some of the projects, when they come, they're already started, or they're not even aware of what's really going on the project. Second, some of my members, 2 of my members have not been called. They're not been reminded. They don't have internet, so they did request to be called. They have not been called. I have checked with them. They have not been reached out to or anything. I have had complaints. I have gone there to the sites myself. I do have pictures that I would like to show of the projects. I just hope that some of these companies have not been paid. This is the baseball field on I believe it's the baseball and the softball. How all the trash next. And this is how the site is. And it's very bumpy and lumpy. If we can go to the next, so I know. And this is some of the fact of the matter that this is how it's looking. Next, this is how some of our dugouts are and have not been replaced or anything. Next picture. This is what our bleachers at Riverside High School are broken. They were not like this. They were in good conditions. Now they don't look that well. I hope they do replace that. Next picture. This is the rock wall that the company Hassel, or what? Oh, Hassel? Is that the name of it? Hallis. With their machinery, they broke half of the rock wall. Next picture. This is some of our letterings in our football field. Some are larger than the other ones, and this is how much I hope they have not gotten paid for this job, because some of our letterings, and I was told last week to go check that out. And I did. It still looks the same, that it had already been fixed. We have been lied to. I do not like to be lied to, and these people getting paid. I mean, this is the only school that I have heard. I don't know if any other board members have gone to see their job, but I have, and this is what it looks like. I'm not satisfied. This is taxpayers' money, and if they're just lying to us, this has got to be corrected by our hiring persons that we have hired. And also, my committee has gone there and have seen this too. As a matter of fact, these pictures are being bought by Mr. Acosta and Mrs. Acosta. And next picture, if we have any. This is the sign for I believe, the softball. They dragged, as you can see, there's grass on top. They dragged that sign up and then just installed it. Next picture. They scraped it on the side, and there's some scratches on that, and they just went ahead and put it on there. Next picture. This is the holes. They left this, and it needs to be repaired. It needs to be straightened out. We can't have a softball field looking like this. Next picture. if there's any more. There's more tires. I mean, it's uneven. There's holes all over the place. We can't have our softball team playing like this. And this is how the track marks are on the field where they're going to be playing. Next picture, if there's any more, or I guess, and then they leave the wiring hanging out like that. We can't have, they can trip. It's very dangerous. We've got a lot of kids out there, and it's unsafe. If we're doing this for the safety of our students, this is unsafe.
Ms. Duenas, we appreciate these photographs and we appreciate the conversation. We will absolutely continue to look at all of the conversations we've had with both our committee members. We have a list where we make sure that we check off on, that we follow up on, especially with our project managers. I will say that we are in agreement as a district that our softball teams will not play on those fields, but as the time permits, we are very diligently working on these projects. We're still working with them for all the athletic fields enhancements. And while we appreciate all of these photographs, we are working 7 days a week to make sure that all of these things are handled.
The thing is that, one of the things is that they had promised me they were going to do it the beginning of September. Then they said at the end of the last football game.
Ms. Duenas,
it's already been 2 months.
Absolutely.
And it still has not been done. So what are we waiting for? For them to leave town and just go out and then leave everything as it is?
No, ma'am, and we will continue all of our efforts, and we will make sure.
I will keep on being pressured on this because this is incorrect. This is not a well job done. I mean, this is a mess. They're doing a mess to this school. And it's going to cost us more to repair all the repairs that they had damaged.
Thank you, Ms. Duenas. Board, if there are no other questions?
The other thing I'd like to say is kind of reiterate what I think the rest of the board has already said, and that is, thank you. Thank you very much. I think that if you're willing to go to a monthly meeting, certainly we should do our best to make that happen. I think we ask enough of you as it is, but monthly meetings would greatly enhance the amount of information that you guys are getting, the quality of information that would be returned back to us, and I don't see why we wouldn't. But again, thank you all so much for your dedication and your time.
Mr. Chairman?
The success of this bond is going to be due in large part to you and your work. And just, sir.
You know, your points are bothering to me because, first of all, we were informed and we were assured that there's a holdback of 15%. Is that right, Ms. Leeper? And as far as a company getting paid and leaving town, that's not part of the game. But even though I am not part of Riverside, I will take the time tomorrow if I can, and I'll coordinate with whoever can go with me, Mr. O'Neill, and I want to see what's what, and I'll take my camera and then we'll take pictures because it's not fair for the public. But by the same token, if they're have they begun to repair the damages and so on and so forth, sir?
Mr. Haggerty, members of the board, Dr. Delatorre, no, they haven't because there's still construction sites. And our plan is they finish one site, then we will follow up right behind them with them repairing the fields. They're about ready to hire a landscape architect to come in and do it, landscaper. I've also recommended to get Dr. Bader from the West Texas A&M Center, and he has helped us in the past. I would consider him to be an expert in field maintenance. We are going to get him involved. But right now, they're still driving on the fields. They're doing last-minute touch-ups. We don't want to get on those fields and repair them until they're done.
Okay.
We have gone out with the representatives from Hellas and identified those areas that need to be repaired. They're fully aware of what needs to be done. I have been in contact with the owner of Hellas. He has assured us that it will be done. Now, we are in a time crunch, you're right, because we're fixing to start baseball and softball at the end of January. But we are constantly on it. We have weekly meetings. So, yes, sir, we're very much aware of the situation, and so is Hellas. And they know we're not going to pay them until it's done. We've made that very clear.
So we'll just wait until the process begins to take care of
Yes, sir,
itself.
we can go out, and the pictures that Ms. Duenas is showing you are correct.
Okay.
They have ruts on the field from driving the heavy tractors on them, but they have assured us that they will be repaired, and they've taken initial steps to get it done. And we, as a district, are making sure it is going to get done.
Fair enough.
There's already a punch list that's been created that they'll be able to go through and
Sir?
There's already been a punch list created. They'll be able to go through and they'll be able to check off.
Yes, sir. There's several punch lists, and they are updated weekly.
Was there more damage done to Riverside than any of the high schools?
It looks like it.
They really hammered.
With all the traffic, because remember they created new backstops. If you've seen the fencing, that netting, it's just like the Chihuahuas ballpark. No other high school has it. In order to get up that high, they had to drive onto the field, okay? They know there's going to have to be some repairs. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a state-of-the-art. We'll have the finest baseball and softball facilities in this part of the state.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill.
Yes,
The
sir.
only other comment I'd like to make is that the G in Rangers is larger than the other letters. That's by design. It's not supposed to be the same size. It's supposed to be the center letter. And while not everybody has the same taste for font, that is the font that Riverside High School has relied on, at least in the recent past. So it's not a matter of it being defective. It's a matter of someone maybe not caring for that type of font.
No, the G is larger, and so is the E at the end. And then the S on Riverside and the E at the end are also larger.
I think these photographs may shed light on it because they happen to be in the gym, which we haven't repaired, right? And
This is the style of font that the district, we're not happy with that. That's not helpful.
so the middle letter, the S on Riverside, is larger. Just
But
as
on the book
G.
that you all gave us about a month ago, they're all straight.
What you're referring to, you're right. There were some crooked lines that remember, and that's what according to you, those would be repaired.
No, they've got to be straight because, I mean,
I agree 100%. But this was the style of font requested. It's not how it's called. Been in Riverside. You go to the gym, please go to the gym. But if we need to change it,
Mr. O'Neill, can I ask a question? We will put these checklists in place at all the schools, correct? So that any other issues that come up, because, when you do a construction job, my husband was in construction, and I know that it's never going to be perfect. You have to go back and find the defects and
yes,
so-
ma'am, you're exactly right. And so far to this point, Hellas has done everything we've asked them to do. They have been more than cooperative, very responsive to our needs. Even though when sometimes they didn't need to, they've gone ahead. But what Ms. Duenas is telling you is exactly correct. Scratches on the scoreboard, these are all things that we have identified. There's some scratches on the fence of Bel Air. And,
Yeah, that's
they're going to go
what
back
I'm
and fix
asking.
those.
This will be done for all schools.
Yes,
not
ma'am,
just-
because you have some ruts on your field, too.
Yes, we do.
But we're going
Yeah.
to make sure that they are corrected before the start of the season. We're going to hold them accountable.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on what did we submit in terms of the lettering? You just made a comment to the fact that this is what we submitted.
Yes, sir. We asked for this style of font for the lettering.
but that's not what you brought to us. At the very beginning, this is not what you brought to us.
Okay.
According to what you brought to us at the very beginning, they were all straight. Even then, last month, you brought a book to us showing all the pictures of all the football fields, and they all, I think that Valle, it has their letters larger, but it's the beginning of the lettering. And in this one, it's towards the end. This is not what we agreed on. This is not what you brought to us from the very beginning.
If we need to make correction, but this is, yes, sir. If I didn't bring you that picture, I'm not sure which picture you're referring to, but you can see this is just the style of the font of the lettering. But if we're not happy with it, then, we'll have to make it correct. But we can't blame Hellas for this, because this is what we asked for.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it, who chose the font in
The
this
schools
case?
chose the font, then Hellas sent me the drawings, and I signed off on the drawings. But I signed off on the drawings,
But
yes, ma'am.
I understood, I think at Bel Air, the coaches were the ones who designed what they wanted on the field. Am I
Yes, ma'am.
correct
And that is-
about that?
All the schools did. We brought them in last year. We went over the different color schemes, how they wanted their end zone, how they wanted, those different sayings on the field. Go Big Red, Pride of the West Side, proud to be a Matador. Those are all things that were generated by the schools and makes our campuses very unique. But
Right.
to answer your question, yes, ma'am.
So someone at Riverside signed off on what they wanted.
They chose the font.
No, they
and I'm
didn't.
No, I signed off on it.
You signed up, but let me correct that.
Yes, ma'am.
The coaches are the ones that are complaining to me, and so is the administration. But whoever did sign off on that was not in agreement with the staff,
Okay.
according to what I'm getting.
Yes, ma'am, and I signed off, so if I'm accountable for signing off on those. Okay.
We have any other questions? Then I'd like to move on to the next.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Again, I want to thank every member of the Bond Oversight Committee that's here tonight and that continues to serve on the committee.
And just very briefly, I've been part of 4 successful bonds, and I think what makes this committee unique is their background. Each of them, you've got software engineers, you've got people very familiar with general contracting work, you've got very, very capable people on that committee that can speak to the details surrounding construction, both design and construction, and that makes it very helpful to our staff and to VLK. And so I think that's why we're making the progress we're making. And I also think that's why they're asking for additional detail and additional information, and we'll work to try and provide them with that. Also want to recognize Mr. Andy Dominguez, who's a member of the Bond Oversight Committee, who just walked in a few minutes ago, who's also got a great background in this area and has been instrumental. Our third presentation, President Haggerty, is again Ms. Leeper. I think we'll introduce Jeff Roberts, who's here this evening, task for your consideration.
Yes, members of the board, Jeff Robert and Maria Urbina, both of First Southwest, which is a division of Hilltop Securities, is here this evening with a brief presentation that will give you some of the details for the parameter resolution or order that you'll be asked to approve on Wednesday evening. That I'll turn it over to Mr. Robert.
Thank you, Ms. Leeper. President Haggerty, members of the board, Dr. Delatorre, Jeff Robert with First Southwest, and Maria Urbina is with me as well, and I'm going to go through a presentation I think you should have in front of you. What we're asking or the board to consider at Wednesday night's meeting is to approve a parameter order that would allow for the issuance of the remaining $180,585,000 and change, for lack of a better term, of the 2015 authorization. If you'll recall, we issued the first $250 million in January of this current year, and we're looking at trying to be in a position to price the remaining authorization in January of this upcoming year. So as I go through this, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to stop me, and I'll do the best I can to answer your questions. This first graph here is what we call the bond buyer index. It's to give you an overall picture of where long-term tax-exempt interest rates are. It's not meant to be an apples-to-apples comparison. Just to give you an idea of where rates have been historically, the white graph in the background goes all the way back to the early 80s. If you go over to the far right, that's where we are currently, and then that blue kind of blown-up graph there on the corner is what this index has done over the last year. And you can see it's kind of spiked a little bit since the November election. It's come down this last week. But from a historical perspective, we're still at a very low rate environment.
Sir,
Yes,
based on what the Fed does Wednesday, how will that affect the line here?
You know, they said this morning on our economic conference call that the odds of them raising the short-term rates 100%. So I think it's already priced in there. I mean, it would be shocking if they didn't raise rates. You know, and what they're doing is raising rates on the short end, the overnight rate, which may have an impact on, you know, your 1, 2, and 3-year rates, but I don't think it's going to have a big impact on a long-term financing like we're looking at. And in all honesty, it might actually help when it comes to, you know, investing bond proceeds, because I know that you invest short-term, and so if short-term rates come up, that'll just help your investment. A good question. This next slide just shows you kind of an overall projection of where we envision the INS tax rate being in the graph at the bottom. Up there at the top, the column 2 and 3 shows we had a 382 on last year's, or this year, excuse me, the issue we did earlier this year. Column 4 and 5, you can see I'm assuming a 440, but that's about 25 basis points of cushion right now. So right now we'd be at about a 415, maybe a little bit less. Something to add in column 6, you can see I bolded and made the IFA acronym red. This was something that we applied for. We weren't necessarily expecting to receive it, but we did. We knew we would get what's called existing debt allotment funding. We applied for IFA funding and learned a couple of months ago that we're in fact going to get IFA funding, which is fantastic because what it means is that we're actually going to get some funding this year, whereas previously the EDA wasn't going to kick in until next year. So we're going to get some funding this current year. But also what it does is it preserves that EDA capacity. On the EDA funding, you get 29 pennies that can be equalized by the state. By getting IFA, it shifts 7 pennies of capacity back to the district so that the next time you go out for an authorization, you'll be able to qualify 7 extra pennies for EDA funding as a result of us getting the IFA funding. So that was very good news. When the district held and passed the election, it was communicated to the voters that the tax rate would not go above 31 cents. This current year, we're at 0.305. The projection, even after this issuance, is for it to actually go down to 29 cents. That's going to be a budgeting decision and a board decision. It's also, we're making projections as to what the ADA is going to do, the average daily attendance, as well as the tax base. But I feel pretty comfortable and confident that you'll be able to, if you'd like, to lower that INS tax rate a penny to a penny and a half, maybe 2 pennies, but in that range and get it below that 30-cent level. So you will be below what was communicated to the district's voters. The next slide, just probably a refresher. I think you've seen this before. This just goes over how the parameter order works. It is allowable under Texas Education Code. The main thing down there is that the board gives certain parameters, the maximum principal amount, interest rate, final maturity date, and then the expiration of delegated authority. You appoint pricing officers or delegate final pricing authority to pricing officers, which in this case would be Dr. Delatorre and or Ms. Leeper. So long as the parameters are met, then they can give approval on behalf of the district to finalize the pricing. The reason we do this is to really give us flexibility. Right now, we're looking at being in a position to price the first week in January. For whatever reason, the market looks like it's not very favorable. We can always push that out. If we had to come each time to a board meeting to have the board formally approve it, there might be multiple meetings we would have to come to. So this just gives us flexibility in terms of pricing. The parameters that are going to be included in Mr. Paul Braden's order that the board would consider on Wednesday. Once again, the delegated pricing officers, the maximum principal amount is the amount of remaining authorization. The maximum true interest cost is 5%. I fully believe that it's going to be hopefully below 4 1/4 is what I'm hoping. Final maturity date, we're looking at a 30-year issue. And then the parameter authority is good for 180 days. So for whatever reason, rates were to move against us, we'd have a 180-day window to price and still need to meet those parameters. The underwriting syndicate in discussions with Ms. Leeper and Dr. Delatorre is the same syndicate we used last year. We added one, which was RBC. Even though this issue is a little bit smaller than last year's issue, we've added one because it's a little volatile out there right now with rates kind of bouncing around with a lot of the uncertainty that's going on with the new president moving in. So we felt like that adding one would reduce their risks as well as help in terms of just overall distribution of the district's bonds. So this was the syndicate that we had come up with for this upcoming issuance. I know I flew through that information. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to.
No one has any questions?
All this CPA and IFA, can you run that through me one more time?
Okay, sure. EDA stands for Existing Debt Allotment. IFA stands for Instructional Facilities Allotment. The IFA program is an application-based program, so you have to actually apply, and then they considered the applications the latter part of the summer of this year, and then they granted awards to the districts with valid applications. We then filled out a final application, and we will now receive IFA funding. And what's nice about that is that on the flip side, the EDA program is automatic. So what that means is if you have debt outstanding, you receive EDA funding for 29 pennies of INS tax effort or INS tax rate. And so we're pretty close to that level right now. So we were really kind of fully maximizing EDA. The way the math works for the IFA program is that if you maximize IFA funding, which we're doing, that's the equivalent of about 7 pennies. So what it does is now instead of us fully maximizing 29 pennies of EDA, we're only using 22. And so 7 pennies are going to be on IFA, so we still have 7 pennies of what we call EDA capacity. So this is great from that perspective because the way things are right now, had we not gotten IFA, the likelihood is that if you went out for another bond election, we'd have to tell the voters that we're going to get minimal to no state funding on this next authorization because we're already fully maximizing EDA. But now we were able to get back, if that's the right term, 7 pennies of EDA capacity that we can at least say, you know what, the first 7 pennies of tax increase, we are going to get funded through EDA dollars from the state. So it was even though it's not a big difference in dollars received by the district, it can be the next time because you've got more capacity now.
What is a penny worth for the homeowner, and what is a penny worth total dollars to the district?
A penny worth on your tax base?
Yes, sir.
Hold on just one second.
Good question.
Let's see, right now your tax base is about, just rounded to about six billion. So a penny would be, make sure I've got my zeros right, would be about 600,000?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a penny would be about 600,000.
Wow.
Is what that is. And right now you're funded about, sorry, I'm shuffling through everything here, but you're pretty close to 50% state, 50% local. So right now, for every 600,000 you generate locally, you get about $600,000 from the state to help pay for the debt service.
And the other question I have is regarding the bond underwriting syndicate.
Yes, sir.
When I see percentages, is that how much, is this the fee, the percentage that all these entities are charging in working the money?
Well, that's the liability. So what that means is that let's round it to 200 million to make it simpler. So what that would mean is that the senior manager would be responsible for 75 million.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
So their liability is the amount of the size of the issuance that they're on the hook for.
I thought that I thought that's how much we were going to pay them. So wait a minute.
No, sir. No, sir.
That picture. Thank you.
No, sir. You bet.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, sir. Thank you.
There is one other. We probably need to segue into there's another parameter order that the board will be considering related to, I believe, the energy project. And Sleeper, jump in. We're looking at, if you recall, back in, I think it was 2009 and 2010, the district received a direct qualified school construction bond authorization from the federal government. We still have 12.7 million of that remaining. So we would be asking the board to consider a parameter order for the issuance of the remaining 12.7 million of qualified school construction maintenance tax notes. So these aren't going to be bonds; these are going to be maintenance tax notes payable from the M&O budget. But we feel like that we're going to be able to achieve a true 0% financing on that. I mean, that's kind of a moving target because rates are changed daily on that, but we feel like that this would come after this bond issue, but probably in the mid to latter part of January, we would issue the qualified school construction maintenance tax notes and be able to achieve a 0% rate, meaning that you'd borrow 12.7, yet you'd actually pay back probably a little bit less than that over time because of interest that we could earn in an invested sinking fund. So that's the other order that Mr. Braden is going to put together that's going to be for the energy project.
Is that accurate? We don't have a project list or any projected projects tied to the 12.7 million?
Yes, we do. Actually, this is the ABM project list.
Okay.
So as you may recall, I sent you a board communique about maybe a month ago, explaining that ABM, we entered into a contract with them for about $13.3 million to do the lighting retrofit. And if we did absolutely nothing, our utility costs, if El Paso Electric wins their next rate case, which they've already said they're pursuing, our electric utility cost will go up by $1.8 million. By engaging in this particular project with ABM, our anticipated increase is about $38,000 a year versus the 1.8, which is what would happen if we do nothing. And then you may recall that by state law, the ABM cost of the project must be funded through the savings. So not only are we going to save in what our utility cost will be, but then they actually have to generate enough to pay back this note. So with a 0% true interest cost or thereabouts, we should come out of this only owing a slight bit out of the fund balance that we'll use to pay for the rest of the ABM project, because it's 13.3 and we're going to borrow 12.7 at roughly 0%. That make sense?
As long as we don't pay money, it makes a lot of sense to me. It really does. No, I want to make a comment to Dr. La Torre and people like yourself. You know, when we work in a contracting environment such as this district, it's the only thing we can do is to make sure that we can account and take the maneuvers at every corner in order not to fall in the trap of it'll get better. And I appreciate your efforts. I really do. I think sometimes we don't think about these things, but I'm constantly thinking the contraction continues. So how do we better manage our resources? How do we better manage the money? How do we avoid going to the taxpayer and saying, you know what, we need another $400 million? I want to make sure that we're doing the right things, and I appreciate your input. Thank you, and same thing to you.
It's Lindley and Miss Haney and her team.
All our team.
They're brilliant.
I appreciate y'all.
They're outstanding.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just one last thing, Mr. Robert will not be here on Wednesday. Our bond counsel will be. So any questions, now's the time to get him. He's headed out of town with his kiddos. Nothing else? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I think at this point, Champagne is with us in the event that anyone has any questions relative to her internal audit.
Good evening, President Haggerty, all the board members and the directorate. I have the status report and the audit reports sent to you prior to tonight. Is there any question? Indirectly, the action item 2 is driven from the audit report.
That's,
Yes, ma'am. I think you turned it off. You turned off your mic.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, on the report you had sent us previous, is that on the agenda? Is it going to be an agenda item as part of?
The one about prevailing wage audit report, it was last Friday. It is the action item 2.
Oh, okay, no, okay, I'll wait for 2.
Do you have a question for it?
For
Champagne?
For this one? No, I don't think.
Anyone else have any questions? No? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to take a quick health break
Yes.
or just jump into the agenda? Go ahead and take a break and be back by 7:15. There's a lot to learn with those.
I'm sure smart people.
I don't know, we'll ask them.
vote
Oh, they haven't been put up? Oh, I get it. Yeah. Come on. How you're what? It's under construction. Yeah, Richard Castro asked me this. Mr. O'Neill, he's responsible. His gate. We're going to get you a golf cart.
Consent items, if anyone has any questions, certainly let us know so we can get your questions answered, or if you'd like to pull them for individual vote on Wednesday. Start with number 1, proclamation for Board Recognition Month.
Are we all here?
Yes. Yeah, we excused 2 board members that aren't feeling well.
Oh,
That's why I was trying to hurry up before anyone else gets sick. Number 2, approve the minutes of November 7th, 2016 workshop and November 9th, 2016 board meeting. 3, accept monthly financial statements as identified in a separate index, including quarterly investment reports as of Halloween 2016. Number 4, approve award of YISD solicitation 217003 RFP RB event equipment rental rebid during the period of January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017 for $80,000 from various funds with possibility of 3 one-year extensions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do I ask? Oh. Dr. De La Torre.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
kind of equipment is this?
It's a variety of equipment for events, like, for example, when we do the Pride or the Convocation or the State of the District address. We have to have a budget. What other events can you think of, Scott?
We primarily use these for when we have the Elementary Fine Arts Festival down at the Fine Arts area. We've been out there. The jumping balloons, the rock walls, anything that requires having attendees take care of them while the kids are on the rides.
So it's actually more for the central office area?
I'm sorry?
For the central office area?
No, this particular item would also, the campuses use these as well.
So they can also ask for them and such? Or do they have to get it out of their budget?
They utilize their budget to procure these for their festivals.
But how, if we're paying for this, how can we ask them for a budget?
No, we're not paying them. That's allowing us to spend up to that amount of money as a district under that particular purchase agreement.
So if Parkland was to use all $80,000, nobody else could rent any more stuff before we came back to the board?
That would be her question. If they spend beyond 80,000, the district.
So if more than 80,000 spent, the increase from the board per policy is 25,000 or 25%, whichever is the lesser of the two, we can increase, but then we would come back to the board. But last year, we only spent 29,000, give or take $1, so we're pretty good.
And my other question was about the principals having to put it out of their pocket. Is this a budget, actually, not pocket, but budget? So besides paying all this for, they can't ask for it, they have to pay for it too?
What this allows for is for either the district departments like Fine Arts or the campuses to use their budget, just like I do, to rent this equipment. So as a district, we're not spending $80,000 with this company. What we're doing is we're allowing us as a district, whether it be departments or campuses, to utilize their budgets up to that amount of money to rent that equipment for festivals.
So actually, what are we paying for? The company?
If we rent this equipment from this vendor, we would pay them for that rental of that equipment. So let's say a rock wall, I don't know the exact amount. Let's say it's $1,000 to rent the rock wall for an activity that comes with a person to help run the activity, that kind of thing. So we would pay them only if we utilized it.
Okay.
Up to the $80,000 for the year.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
In essence, what we're doing is creating a ceiling of 80,000.
Yes, sir.
Of which we've only spent, last year we only spent 29.
Correct.
But in the ceiling includes the opportunity for campuses to rent walls or jumping balloons or whatever they want to get into.
Yes, sir. For example, Eastwood Knolls, they also have a festival that they traditionally put on that they rent equipment
And
for.
this is why each of them had their budget to do these things. But the cap that we're providing is 80,000.
Correct.
Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Number 5, thank you, sir. Approve award of additional list of vendors for the supplier base for YISD solicitation 217009 RFP fundraiser products and services, part 3, during the period of January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017 for $500,000 from various funds, possibility of 1-year extension contingent upon Form 1295 certificate of interested parties. Number 6, approve award of YISD solicitation 2017-217015 RFP marquee signage during the period of January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017 for $200,000 from various district funds with the possibility of 3 1-year extensions.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
You guys kind of tied.
Go ahead, Karen.
Sorry about that. So from what I understand when I read this, we mostly had out-of-town vendors that fulfilled this, this job, fixing our marquees. And then, so we put this out to try and get some El Paso vendors, and we only got 1. Is that
I believe
correct?
that is correct. Yes, ma'am.
But will this still help us to save the money that we're looking for?
Yes, ma'am. And where the real saving is what happened last year when we got a new sign at Cedar Grove, and then also at the Young Women's Leadership Academy. We had a Houston company come in, and they did not know the city codes. So they sold us a marquee that didn't meet city codes, and so they had to go back and redesign it. And because they did that, we missed the June 30th deadline to get things in, and we had to pay for it out of this money. So we didn't like that, and so we asked purchasing to please go ahead and put out a solicitation where we can see if we could attract some in town that know our city codes that we can deal with in order to get it. So that's the purpose. Right now, kind of very similar to what Scott was just explaining, nobody is purchasing a marquee at this time,
Right.
but it gives us the option up to $200,000 for various schools to go ahead and purchase marquees.
Right.
So that's what this is all about. Yeah, we were a little disappointed we didn't get more interest.
Yeah, that was a little sad, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
But
We were
we did
hoping
get
that we'd get
one.
a bunch.
So,
Ms. Duenas, you had a question?
Yes. So this is not the same company we dealt with Cedar Grove, where it had to, and then we had to pay back for the shipping and all this. And then it took about more than 6 months to get here.
Because of the city code, because the way they designed it. The city in El Paso won't let you put it up over a certain height,
Right.
and you've got to cover the pole, and these are things in the Houston area they don't deal with. The vendor wasn't aware of it until he put in a permit with the city, and the city said, no, you have to do this. So that caused the redesign, caused the delay, and then the school, you know what we had to do with the school.
Right. Okay.
Number 7, consider to take possible action to ratify YISD contract 2017-0209 with Texas Tech University Health Sciences Service Center to provide resident fellowship training in child and adolescent psychiatry during the period of September 1st, 2016 to August 31st, 2021 at no cost to the district.
I have a question about that one.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are student residents from Texas Tech, and they are going to be working with our kids. Is that the way that?
Ms. Woodruff, that's correct.
Okay. So the only thing I'm asking in this is do we have all the background checks and stuff in place that we would have even for our own teachers or whoever?
Yes, we do. They follow the same any protocol that we have in place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 8, consider to take possible action to ratify Amendment Number 1 to YISD Contract 98-850-428 with Region 19 for continuation of the Cesar Chavez Head Start Center located at 211 Prado Street. Parties agreed to extend the lease terms until June 30th, 2018 on the terms and conditions otherwise set forth in the lease. The lease term may be extended for 2 additional terms of 2 years each at no cost to the district. Number 9, approve YISD contract 2017-0230 with El Paso Electric Company for an easement at Tierra del Sol Elementary School at no cost to the district. Number 10, same thing for Eastwood Knolls. Number 11, approve the designation and delegation of the duties of filing authority under the Texas Education Code to the Superintendent Secretary, Monica Matthewson, related to the May 2017 election for members of the Board of Trustees. We'll move on to action items. Number 1, approve award of YISD solicitation bond 12 CSP BP 05, the new Bel Air Middle School to Urban Associates Incorporated for $29,480,000 from bond funds.
Mr.
Question.
President, can I just say, woo-hoo?
Only if it passes.
Yeah, well, true.
Ms. Duenas, you had a-
Yes. had you all already selected a company?
Yes, ma'am. It was
So this
Urban.
is, oh, no, but I mean, was there another company before this?
Yes, ma'am, there was other companies that bid on this project. Urban, we looked at their references, we looked at their experience, and bottom line, they were $400,000 cheaper than the next person, and that just kind of sealed the deal.
Okay,
But we feel confident that they'll deliver.
okay.
Number 2, consider and take possible action determining that there is good cause to believe the prevailing wage violations have occurred under district contracts blank and blank for the amounts as set forth in the internal auditor's report presented to the board on December 12, 2016, directing the superintendent to notify the contractors or subcontractors and any affected workers of its initial determination, and directing the superintendent to take such resulting actions as required by law.
Mr. President, I'm a little confused about how this actually works. Can we maybe explain that?
I'll have
What's going on
Ms.
with it?
Leeper give you a quick overview and what has happened, and then if there's a need to have Ms. Champagne come forward again, she can come forward. But what it comes down to is there's an expectation that any company that works with the district pay employees fairly. And on 2 occasions, that doesn't seem to have happened, and so we need to reach out to them and make sure that they do, consistent with the Bacon-Davis rates.
Yes, so as you know, in your internal audit packet, I believe from last Friday, the Internal Audit Office presented you with prevailing wage findings from their audit. And if you have questions about the specific content of the audit, then Champagne needs to visit with you about that. But essentially what the law requires is that if there is an audit violation and you're notified, or I'm sorry, there's a prevailing wage violation and you're notified of it, within 31 days, you must determine if there's good cause for assessing a penalty. And so, as I recall, we have actually determined that there's only one violation right now, and that is with Hillis. And so the amounts, I believe, are included in your packet. There is a penalty to be assessed if you find good cause, meaning that essentially they intended to defraud workers or intended to underpay them. That's the gist of it. But you must make that finding as a board. The public body must do so. And then the superintendent would be delegated with the authority to enforce the penalty.
Will there be more evidence or something presented, or are we just deciding this from the audit, or?
No, it's pretty clear that there's been the violation. I think what the board can consider is whether or not there was malicious intent or whether or not the discrepancy is large enough that would warrant your attention, your action. Or in some cases, the board can simply hear it and decide not to act on it. We would move forward without.
And these instances that were in the package, these people have been reimbursed by the company for the?
No, that's what the board would direct me to do, and that is contact Hellas and insist that they pay these people what these people are owed.
Ms. Champagne, did you have extra information?
So as
Yeah, I have a
Champagne's-
question on this also. There's a 6,300 penalty. Is that correct?
If I may, can I
And that's
explain
what
to you
the-
the process?
But is this what they owe us now of
No,
penalty?
the workers.
Okay, for their 4 workers
Penalty, I think it's paid to us.
working on our project under Hellas, they were paid, they were underpaid compared to the prevailing wage rate that you all adopted for this contract. So total of these 4 workers were $1,160.67 that these workers were underpaid, 4 of them in total. According to our contract, in the contract we say if any of the contractors or subcontractors underpay any of their workers compared to the prevailing wage rate, every day they underpay that worker, they need to pay district $60. That's according to the contract that we told them they have to follow prevailing wage rate, the board adopted. For Hellas, you all adopted the county's rate that was published in 2008. That's for Hellas. And for other contractors, we follow Davis Bacon's prevailing wage rate. The earlier project for Riverside Middle School for Constant Holber, that was one with Martinez brother and Hellas. These two are under the 2008 prevailing wage rate. So what you're going to decide is, because Hellas did not take any action to address that. They didn't respond to our audit report, because in the audit report, we asked them, say, these are the findings. Show us if you have any other proof that you did not underpay these workers. They did not respond before today. So the audit report is final, meaning they couldn't prove they did not underpay the employees. So for this employee, they underpaid. So according to the government code 2258, that the board need to accept or not accept the audit findings that they need to pay their workers underpay and pay the penalty according to a contract. So that's why you have this action item. Does it help or not help?
Yeah.
I want you to consider as you take action or not take, you agree or not agree, because the audit report is following a contract. So if we have a contract say that if a contractor or subcontractor underpay their workers, they need to pay district $60 every day they underpay these workers. So if you don't accept this, then I don't know how the contract will be. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. My question would be,
Yes.
Was their wage rate set lower than what the contract allowed for, or were they off sick a bunch where they were short that amount because they just didn't show up to work? Or how is it that they came up with
No,
$1,000?
these are the difference. For example, the prevailing wage rate say you need to pay the workers. They all have different job titles. For common labor, say, I don't remember exactly this case. For example, $9 an hour. And the contractor pay their workers $8 an hour. That is not following the rate you adopted, because the rate you adopted for this type of worker, every hour they work for our project, they need to be paid $9 an hour. But from the certified payroll they submitted to us, they show they pay their worker $8 an hour. So this audit report is pointing out to show you they did underpay this worker for this job for this many hours. According to their own report, they are underpaid these workers.
I have $12 and then $12.87, and then 11 and $12.87. I have the report.
Yes, for that one, for the first worker, the certified payroll show the employee was paid $12 an hour. According to the prevailing wage rate we adopted, it should be $12.87. So they underpay this worker 87 cents per hour. This worker work on our project. Okay, so for this first worker, the total underpay was $873.48. And consider how many days they need to pay us the penalty of $4,500. So these are all based on the contract agreement that we published, they signed, agreed, and the certified payroll they submitted to VLK about how much they pay their workers.
So is this something that we have to vote on to disregard it?
No, you need to vote on to accept this audit report. There's a finding that there's a clause, and this contractor would have to pay their employee the underpay amount and pay the penalty.
Mm-hmm. And this is an action item, right?
It's number 2.
Action item number 2.
So it's something that we have to vote on Wednesday on
Yes,
the process.
yes.
Okay.
And before we come to you, we gave the backup proof of the certified payroll, which employee, which day they were underpaid, how many hours. These are all their record, it's not our record. It's the contractor's record.
Okay.
Thank you.
That help?
Are there any other questions? I think
Yes.
it does. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Number 3, approve YISD contract 2017-0221 with St. Luke United Methodist Church. Provide the district the use of approximately 130 parking spaces during the period of January 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2019 in the amount of $2,026 per month from bond funds. The lease can be extended for 2 additional periods of 3 months each, subject to final negotiations and legal counsel review.
I have a question. There's 3 items, 3, 4, 5, which is the same on this, but I'll start with 3. It's a 2.5-year contract.
Yes, ma'am. Let me ask Hector and the guys to put up the map of the school, and I'll explain, because you're right, they're all tied together, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
So let's go ahead and look, and here's the map of the school, of Eastwood High School. All right. This is McRae that runs in front of the school. This is Montwood, just so you kind of get a feel for where the school is. All right, when we do the construction, remember, we're going to tear down this building, and this building all at the same time. We are going to put portables in here where it currently is faculty parking, and we're going to put portables here to accommodate the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. The 9th graders will spend the next 2 years over at Eastwood Middle School, and we've talked about this before. All right, so they are also, as part of the construction, going to come out into this area and take away this parking and some of this parking. So we need parking for students and staff, basically. And what we did is we have contracted with Mount Hope. This is the parking here, this church. Back here is St. Luke, a nice big parking lot, and then St. Andrews. Several years ago, the district entered into an agreement to rent some of these spots here and over here at St. Luke for $1 a spot, $1 a day. So the churches were very good, and they agreed to do the same thing for us. So we are going to go in and ask the board to approve a contract where we can go ahead and rent the spots here, here, and here for students and staff. And our plan is to go ahead and number each one of those spots, and they'll be designated for the students and staff so we know who's supposed to be in that parking area. Because if not, there's no parking around the school. We had talked about another option is possibly have them park down in the parking lot right below by the marquee and bus them up every day. But we don't think the students will go for that. You know, well, they'll end up in the neighborhood, and neighbors will get upset with us. So by doing this, we'll be able to accommodate it. Currently, we have 342 parking spaces at Eastwood High School. That's all around the campus. By entering into these agreements with the churches, we will acquire 366 spots. So we get to match what we currently have, and we feel like this will accommodate us. So those what those 3 items are all about.
So,
yes, ma'am.
Is it the one, is that one, the one that's kind of far away from?
Yes, ma'am, that's St. Andrews.
But that's still in pretty good walking distance, or?
It is going to be a distance, yes, ma'am. But at least we're going to offer that option. And if we come back later and find out, you know what, we need to run shuttles. And we talked about that as being a possibility because this will not accommodate all of the faculty and staff. Some of them are going to have to be over here at St. Luke's. And we might have to get a bus and just run a shuttle back and forth, similar to what they do at UTEP.
You know, I walk around that area. It's really not far at all. It seems farther when you look at it from the map than what it is. It's just crossing the street. Again, we'll do whatever the students need, but I don't think that's.
Well, it's going to be a wellness program for the faculty.
Yeah, that's what I was
Some
going
of
to
those
say.
people need a little exercise.
Probably get some
We ought to
exercise.
put the faculty, well, never mind.
Farther
So altogether, if I may ask,
Yes.
we're looking at 130 for St. Luke spaces.
Yes, sir.
St. Andrews is another another 101, and then another 130 for Mount Hope,
Yes,
for a
approximately.
total about 360.
Right around 366. This area right here is undeveloped, and what we're going to do is very similar to what we did at Parkland Middle School and then also at Thomas Manor. We'll go in there, level it, and we can put lines in there, and we'll use it. So we're not quite sure how many will get there until we actually do it. Now, we won't be able to use this part of the parking lot at St. Luke's because they have a pre-K program,
Right.
so we'll only have this area here. But we feel very confident in this plan.
My other question is on, I noticed for Mount Hope, now that's that area that you're going to redo, right?
Okay, this is the area we're going to redo right here. Now, to protect our investment, we're entering into an agreement
Right.
with them that protects our loan. Because if everything goes good, we're going to have this for the next 7 years. Because we're always looking for parking. And this will be an ideal location because the new parking area will be all here, but this, with a little bit here, but this will give us that additional parking that we need. So we feel very good.
So the payment on that one, though, are we paying an actual rent on that, or are we paying, are we doing the work as part of the
Yes,
part of the
ma'am, and
deal?
that's part of the agreement. Now, if for some reason the church folds, then what our agreement says, we have first right to purchase this property. And we've been looking to purchase this forever and ever, so it's really a good deal for us.
That's
And
the one in the corner, right?
yes, sir,
McCray and Montwood.
that's right. So we'll have the first option to purchase this if for some reason the church goes under, okay? But we're going to protect our investment.
Sounds good.
Ms. Lieber and her staff been very helpful in helping, and Ms. Austin in getting this contract.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on 2 and 3 and 4, it's a 2.5-year contract, right?
Right.
And then on 5 is a 8-year contract?
Okay, let me explain. All right, we're going to start moving portables in January. So we're going to lose this area. So where you get the half a year is from January to the end of the school year this year, and then 2 years while the construction's going on. Okay, that's the reason it's 2.5 years. That kind of sounds odd. This one is the 8-year because when we develop this property, then we're going to have access to this for 8 years. We're going to be guaranteed that we have this. And as I was explaining to Ms. Woodruff, if for some reason the church goes under and they sell, then we are protecting our investment because we get to purchase that lot, which we've always kind of had our eye on.
But I know that when we were having that construction, well, not we, because, but when they were having the construction on Montwood, that was a problem because there was no parking on the Montwood parking. So that's when we also got that contract on that. But hardly any students were using they were parking on Debbie Lewis Road and maybe even inside, because I think there was an accident with one of the students that was hit by a car because of the congestion on McCray. Now, will that, and there's another congestion on Montwood, will there be a problem there because of all the congestion?
Oh, and you are correct, because we had entered into an agreement and they didn't use it, okay? But this is going to be used by faculty and staff. This is going to be used by mostly faculty and staff with a little bit for the students. We still have to offer the students some options. If the parents are going to come back at us and say, you took away our parking, what options are you giving us? The neighbors are going to ask us, what options you're going to give us? A lot of times they don't use our assigned parking because they don't have a driver's license or they don't have insurance.
Right, and I think that was the problem, that they were not up to code, and the church was having problems with that
Yes,
because they did not have insurance, they did not have a license, and they couldn't come up with a proof. So that's why they were parking on Debbie Lewis or inside the Ridge area.
Yes, the Indian Ridge area, yes, ma'am. And we are gonna have assigned parking spots, as I mentioned, so that we know who's parking in those spots. We know they're assigned, that the people that are parking there do have a driver's license and insurance. And you're right, if they don't, they don't. There's not a whole lot we can do. However, the city has gone ahead and we will continue, they will allow us to park, students to park along Montwood.
Now,
So we're looking at a bunch of different options to try and make this work.
I believe there is about like $4,000, almost $5,000 a month for all the parking.
Okay, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, 130 spots a day, that's $130 a day. So I would trust your math without me sitting down.
4,642, I found it. Yeah, and this is a month. But what if they're not using it? Do we have to keep that contract?
No, ma'am, we have the option to back
so
out.
we
Both
can-
sides
oh,
have that
okay.
option,
Okay.
absolutely. And the
All right.
churches have been wonderful. They have been really accommodating. We've had multiple meetings with them, and they consider them, they want to be our good neighbors, and that's the words they use. They want to
Okay.
be our good neighbors, and we want to be
right.
good neighbors with them.
Let me just add a little bit to your questions. I was contacted by an individual that initially I thought he lived in East Ridge, and he runs around with a dog there in East Ridge. And his initial comments were the fact that the parking situation in the East Ridge area had gotten to the point, in his opinion, because kids were parking, we went ahead and put these no parking signs on Lemway, and he was adamant that he was going to file an injunction during the time that we were constructing. So I turned him over to the city representative, but by you taking the initiative, I think we will have worked around any kind of possibility of this individual actually taking some foolish action in terms of an injunction.
Yeah, because that was Mr. Rosales, but that was our problem before that people were complaining. And people were complaining about the parking the students were doing inside the Indian Ridge area. That's why
Indian Ridge?
Mhm.
Yep.
East Ridge.
It's east, oh, okay. Well, I know it was Ridge, but
It's East Ridge, yes, ma'am.
Well, it's going to create a problem anyway. And I'm happy you're looking into the.
We're doing our due diligence, yes, sir, to take care of
The worst thing we could happen, or could happen, was this individual following through with his threat that he would file an injunction and then stop the construction. So thank you very much. I appreciate your.
Yes, sir.
What about the construction workers? Where will they be parking? They have parking set up for them too?
Okay, there is, if you go straight up McRae to the light, you come out Sims, take a left, go up to the next stoplight, take a left, there's a Goodwill, and behind the Goodwill, there's a lot. We have worked with, we've kind of found this area, John Klein found this area for them, that they'll be able to park their vehicles, and they know they're going to have to bus people to the site. So we won't have to
Sounds good.
compete for parking.
where's that at? Where is that at on the map?
Okay, you can't see it on this map, but if you come out to McRae, come right out Sims, hit the light, take a left, go up the hill till you hit the next light, which is right by that church. As you're going up the hill, and then you take a left, and there's a Goodwill Center. Right behind it, they have some large areas out back. They're going to use that for parking and as a construction site. Hector's
What is the
probably
name
trying
of that
to.
street?
It's not Acer, is it?
No, I think Acer is on
it
the west
Acer?
side.
It's Acer.
Acer?
Acer.
All right, we'll find it for you here real quick.
We don't have the picture anymore.
We'll get it up for you.
Yeah, while he's looking for the picture, all this money, Dr. Latorre or Mr. O'Neill, have we accounted for this possibility?
Yes,
to
sir,
the
we
bond?
knew we were going to have to do this.
Already it's bond money then.
Yes, sir, and in the end, because and one of the beauties of this that we really weren't even planning on, but it's going to help us, is that with El Paso passing their bond, if we had waited then to build Eastwood in phase 2 like originally planned, we'd be in direct competition for them, and that would have driven up the price. Now, by us being ahead of the game, we'll be able to finish up before they even really get started with their big projects.
Now, is another question that Mr. Rosales, I had another, but is this money coming from bond money?
Yes, ma'am, it's going to be bond money.
So it's not going to be affecting the project? It's from the bond money?
We're still okay. We're still.
It's already been figured in.
All right,
the bond money.
we are currently right here, and you can't. Now, if you come out to the light, take a left, if you follow the arrow, go straight up the street, you hit another light, take a left, this is the Goodwill, and look right behind Goodwill. You see that big lot? That's going to be their staging area.
And this is Acer.
Yes, ma'am, because if you went down.
Is it going up or going down?
Up.
So it's going up like.
Yes, ma'am, it's that direction. It's north towards Eastwood.
If you're coming from the freeway, it's going up.
That's a building that used to be the Computer Tech Center?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so then it's Goodwill, then it's the Montana.
No.
No, you're thinking of a distribution drop-off center. This is their corporate offices.
Oh.
It's kind of right up the street from here. It's real close.
But there's two nice large
If you go
areas.
out, as we get out, and you, right there at the light, you make either a left going down McCrae or north. You make a left and be the first light, and make another left. It's the second building.
Can't
That's
miss
Acer.
it.
And, okay, I'm still kind of trying to figure this one out. On the one for 8 years, which is number 5, is there going to be enough money for 8 years from the bond money there?
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
won't it be gone by then?
No, we'll be okay, because we're going to develop this property for them right there, and in return, then we get this for 8 years. And like I said, if for some reason the church goes under, then we'll have opportunity to purchase it. And it's all upon legal review. You know, we're not going to do anything unless we're absolutely sure that we're protected. That's the reason that state as, upon legal review.
Okay.
But like I said, we've been trying to get that property for years and years, so.
And this one over here on, what's the name of this?
St. Luke's
No,
or St. Andrews?
I think it's St. Andrews. St. Andrews. Isn't that too far?
And that's what we are talking about, is it's a little bit of a walk, but it's not bad. And that's going to be for the kids.
But for the kids it is, because it was far for them to cross McCrae, and it's just across the street. They'd rather park on Debbie Lewis. Well, I know because I saw it there. I mean, that's you saying it, but the students say it differently.
I used to walk it too when I was a student there. When I was a
Well,
student
that's
there.
what I mean. If it's too far, we're paying for something that's not going to be used.
When I was a student there, it wasn't that far. We walked over there all the time. But that's where we go eat lunch.
when you
while
say-
we were off the-
To the hamburger place on Prairie and Wedgwood. Montwood and Wedgwood.
Yes, ma'am, there's a hamburger place right here.
And they go to the pizza place too.
They go here, and then they also like Domino's, and they'll even go into the Valero store and get those hot dogs that have been on the grill for 2 days. But kids.
That was us, because they had video games.
Every day at lunch, just go watch. You'll see them just all trucking down there, traveling down there.
Is there any other questions?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. We'd move on to number 6. Approve an order authorizing the issuance of Ysleta Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building Bond Series 2017 and a maximum not to exceed par amount of $180,585,998 for various school construction projects in the district. levying a
Question.
continuing district annual ad valorem tax for the payment of such bonds and resolving other matters related thereto, including delegating certain matters relating to the sale and issuance of the bond to an authorized district official within specific parameters. Yes, ma'am.
I'm having a little problem understanding this. Now, this is where we're going to be,
This is how we're going to get the rest of the money for the rest of
from the, oh, okay. Now, is this, how is the rate right now to cash the?
Going to go up on Wednesday, and then it's
Oh,
supposed to
it's
go up
gonna go
again
up?
next year even more. Like
But
two or
it
three more
wasn't it
times,
at
right?
3 point something during the year? Now it's at 4 point, so it's going up?
They are still very low rates historically, but as you saw in Mr. Roberts' presentation, the previous sale of the $250 million was around 3.8, and he's projecting 4.4, which is conservative. He really thinks it'll be a little less, or hopefully around 4.25.
Okay. All right. Why did we wait instead? Why didn't we cash it before? So it wouldn't be so.
We can't spend it all at once, and as soon as we spend it, the interest starts accruing. So it'd be sitting in the bank, and we'd be owing money on it.
Okay.
Have any other questions? Number 7, approve a resolution authorizing the issuance of qualified school construction maintenance tax notes, Series 2017, and a maximum not to exceed par amount of $12,769,000 to fund capital expenditures for HVAC upgrades, lighting retrofits, and other improvements at various existing school buildings throughout the district, and resolving other matters related thereto, including delegating certain matters relating to the sale and issuance of the notes to an authorized district official within specific parameters.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where are we getting, where do we get the money? From TEA or are we borrowing the money?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we're borrowing the money. What is the tax notes?
So it's a form of a borrowing. It's just not a general obligation bond like number 6 is. Maintenance tax notes is just a different description of a method for borrowing.
Okay. And how are we going to get the $12,769 million with benefit?
So we will sell them just like, essentially like we do the bonds. So we're borrowing.
Okay. Is this going for material cost or is this for company cost?
So as you may recall, the ABM contract for the lighting retrofits,
Oh, okay.
that's paying for those.
So it's actually material in both or both?
Material and labor.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Any other questions? That will move into the policy action items. We have 1. Consider and take possible action to adopt on first reading recommended policies to policy EHBAF, special education video audio monitoring. Then we'll move in and close executive meeting where we'll discuss with legal counsel regarding health scope benefits and express scripts pharmaceutical rebates, reconvene in open session to take any action related to the closed executive meeting item. If no other questions or comments, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We're adjourned at 8:04.